So welcome everybody to OpenAPI is Community Panel. I am your moderator, Alianna, and I am so pleased to have with us today a number of members of the OpenAPI Initiative community, some who have been members since its very inception, some who have been for slightly less time. What we are here today to do is to tell you a little bit about the initiative and the different things that you as an individual can do if you want to take part or have some things that you want to do. It's about our specification, but it's also a community around the entire specification as well. So I'm going to turn it over to the panelists to do introductions. And since she's the first in my Brady Bunch Hollywood Squares setup, the first who I'll ask to introduce herself is Isabelle. Isabelle?
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in this world. I'm Isabelle Mauny. I'm the field CTO at 42Crunch. I think we've been with OpenAPI for about 4 years now, a bit more in the community, and yeah, working very closely with the specification. Looking forward to the panel.
Lindy?
Yeah, I'm Lorinda Brandon. I'm the VP of Software Development at Better Cloud. I have been with OpenAPI since its inception, and I've represented multiple companies here throughout the years. Right now, Better Cloud joined, I'd say maybe 4 months ago, and we're thrilled to be part of it. But yeah, I've been here for a long time. Do you want me to popcorn it over, Ali? I will popcorn that to Ron. Ron can't use his mute button. There he goes.
No, it's well, we talked about it, right? Technology. So hi, I'm Ron Ratovsky. I guess at the moment, my main job is being a member of the technical steering committee here at the OpenAPI Initiative. Also have been pretty much a member since the inception of the project, and happy to be here. Okay, I guess it's my turn to pass it on. So Taylor.
Hi, I'm Taylor Burnett. I'm a staff developer advocate at a company called PlanetScale. I've been working with OpenAPI Initiative for about 3 years now, probably. I used to work at Stoplight, where I got involved mostly with the marketing committee, and then more with the API Specifications Conference. Go over to Phil.
Hey, yeah, my name's Phil Sturgeon. I've been working, I've been on doing stuff with OpenAPI for like 3 or 4 years. I think I started off just trying to fix the like OpenAPI JSON schema discrepancy stuff that was kind of causing some trouble for me. And then I stuck around on the OpenAPI TSC calls for all the bad jokes. And I work for Stoplight, who builds tooling around OpenAPI. So I kind of stuck around to help fix problems we were having as a company. So yeah, it's been a good time. Who hasn't spoken so far? Neal?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Phil. I am Neal Caidin. I'm based in Durham, North Carolina. I work for the Linux Foundation, and I've been assisting the good folks on the OpenAPI community for close to 3 years as well. So, and really enjoyed getting to know everybody and helping move the project along. Emmanuel, I think you haven't gone yet, is that right?
Yeah, hi, my name is Emmanuel Paraskakis. I'm an API and product strategy consultant, and I've been around OpenAPI for quite some time, participated with 3 companies, the latest being Level 250, my company. And I've worked with API description formats for about 10 years now, and I've watched OpenAPI kind of become the dominant format in this business. So I work a lot within OpenAPI. I work a lot in the marketing committee and the service level agreements SIG, which I think we'll talk about a little bit later.
Thanks, everybody. So since he went last, I think we can start by picking on Emmanuel to talk a little bit about the OpenAPI Initiative and its mission. OpenAPI Initiative was created in 2015 with the donation of the OpenAPI specification, aka Swagger. Emmanuel, can you tell us a little bit about how the OpenAPI initiative, like what its mission is, and also how it's evolved over the past several years?
Yeah, it's. I think it's been very interesting. I think when it started, it was all about one API specification, and it was mostly of interest to technical people and engineers. And I think the evolution that we've seen is that it's now about other specifications as well. So JSON schema that Phil said is of interest, async API kind of evolved out of OpenAPI. And it's also now becoming of interest to more than just technical folks and engineers. You see the business folks coming in, the marketing folks. So I really think OAI, or the OpenAPI Initiative, is becoming the focal point where all of the requirements of builders and API consumers are converging to, and also in the technical as well as in the business domains. I think that's the evolution.
And any of the panelists also can feel free to jump in if they want to add anything after someone does.
Yeah, well, that was pretty much the same growth I've been enjoying watching recently, right? Like I started off just trying to find a way to document an API well, and then kind of seeing the growth in the community around all these different parts of the API lifecycle has been really interesting, with kind of OpenAPI and JSON schema be the source of truth of everything. And it actually turned into quite a nice way to convince teams to do documentation by saying, like, hey, if you do this, you can do contract testing by writing all this JSON schema and use that in your unit tests, and then we can kind of reference that in our docs. And we've got docs, and they'd say, well, we don't really care about docs that much, but we super care about doing contract testing. And there became all these different parts of the lifecycle where it helped out that would just help out with all the other things, even if you didn't really care about the other things. So that kind of consolidation has been interesting. Instead of having different bits of the contract repeated in 100 different places, there's just this one source of truth that everyone can reason around. You know?
Yeah, I also think Manny mentioned something about the product managers and the business aspect of OpenAPI, and I will say that that's one thing we've seen change a lot in the last 5 to 6 years is the involvement of product folks in understanding APIs and really caring about how we define and describe and socialize our APIs. I think I said this to somebody the other day that I felt, and I know like a lot of the folks on this panel have been with OAI for a long time, that the conversations changed and we got better as the business joined us, and it became less of a technical conversation and more of a industry-wide conversation. So I think that's made a huge difference.
I think with at the heart of the OpenAPI initiative is the specification, though. And so I wanted to turn the conversation over to Ron. Ron is a member of the technical steering committee and the technical developer community as well. So at the heart of the OpenAPI initiative is the OpenAPI specification, and it's managed by technical developer community and the technical oversight board. So, Ron, can you tell us a little bit about what these two entities are and how you came to be involved with the TDC?
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a little bit funny that you ask it that way, because over the years we ended up changing the terminology between TDC and TSC, and I'm pretty sure that we managed to add to the confusion, but that's okay. That's not too bad. So basically, I'll start with the TDC, right? So the TDC is a technical development community, which is pretty much anyone who ends up using OpenAPI, anyone who joins the conversation, anyone who builds a tool, pretty much anyone who is involved in any way with the OpenAPI specification, right? So that means that pretty much anyone who's on the call right now on this panel is a TDC member. And technically anyone who is listening in, or anyone who joins the chat, or sorry, anyone who joins our weekly meetings, or the GitHub, or whatever. And everyone is welcome to be a part of that community, and we're happy to see as many people as possible. The TSC is it's a group of, well, today we are 6 people. We started off at 6, we went down to 4, we got back to 6. 6 people who were elected over the years. The original 6 were there was pretty much an initial election by the board of the OpenAPI, and later on, it was pretty much managed by the TSC itself, who gets in and out. Well, not out. We've never pushed anyone out. Just to clarify. And really, I see our role as the group that kind of governs the conversation around the specification, and tries to lead the future of the specification. It's not just us who bring in the ideas, contributions. If anything, Phil, for example, right, since he's on the call, right, he has made a very significant contribution when it came to interoperability with JSON schema. So yeah, we're just kind of sort of like the guides in that field.
Now, the OpenAPI is not just about the specification itself, but also how it's used. And I think we talked a little bit about that earlier, either by specific industries or in particular implementations. So if this is of interest to you, the OpenAPI Initiative currently runs several SIGs, or special interest groups. Among them, workflow, overlays, security, travel, SLA, lifecycle, and profiles. So Phil, you want to take this one? Tell us a little bit about the OpenAPI SIGs. Can just anybody join them?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to check out more information on the SIGs, go to github.com/OAI, and there's a bunch of repos on there that start like SIG-travel, SIG-whatever, and just have a look for them. I think they're like a natural evolution of a kind of the technical steering committee that was growing and growing. I joined some calls where there's like 4 or 5 people or something, and then sometimes there's like 25, and it's a bit unruly because people all have the particular topics they want to talk about. And a lot of the time, this is like the main planning time. It's kind of like everyone gets together, plans some stuff, and then does a little bit of homework and comes back to plan it more. And that doesn't always work out so well when you've got 10 people that want to try and think through something like overlays that requires quite a lot of work. You're going to spend kind of a month's worth of TSC calls all just chatting about overlays. And there's other people that are like, I wanted to talk about something else. So you kind of break down into these smaller groups. They're kind of like working groups. And some of them have their own little Slack area. Some of them, work in different ways. They have meetings at various times, bi-weekly, monthly. But all the SIGs are a little bit autonomous, and they kind of work on preparing information and bringing that back to the TSC when it makes sense. So things like workflows are really interesting. There's a lot of people that work on various different testing tools or documentation tools that want to show like request 1, 2, 3, 4 does, in a chain. And so they can all work on that. And the people that care about overlays can go and work on that without getting in each other's way,
I think it's really important that we're able to move the spec along at different speeds. And you can see there's the main spec, and then you have the special specs that may turn out to be experiments, or they may turn out to be specialized, and they can work alongside the main spec, but you don't have to slow down the evolution of the main spec to do these specialized things.
Yeah, I would also love to add here, one of the things that we need to be able to do is embrace a community that's worldwide, right? You can even see on this panel, we're not all in the same country. Phil, you never actually know what country he's in at any given moment. But I think one of the things that I would be really interested in, that I've been thinking about pretty hard and we've been talking about in the marketing committee, is how do we create a community around these SIGs that doesn't require people to show up to a meeting? Is there a way that we can do something async? And I would love to hear from the community while we've got you all here. Like, love to hear suggestions. Would you want us to have some, Twitter chats, or do you want to have Slack channels? Is there some way that we can engage everybody in this process without having, you have to stay up like Isabelle does at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night to join SIG meetings? So if people have ideas, please let us know what they are. Either, however you can get to us on Twitter is a great way. We're all there all the time. And so, or even in the chat here. But I would love to get more ideas, because I've been trying to figure out how to engage the broader community in the SIGs in a more open way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sort of apropos of that, maybe Isabelle, can you give our listeners some examples of like a recent issue or idea that either workflows or security SIG was addressing, just to kind of give people some thoughts to chew on about how they could contribute, and particularly to Lindy's point, how they could potentially contribute asynchronously?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think one of the key points as well for me of the SIGs is really to capture some real use cases from the community. And that's why you will see SIGs which are more industry oriented, like travel or maybe banking or insurance, etc., because they come with specific sets of requirements. I'm going to take, travel started quite a long time ago. We had somebody on the team about 18 months ago that was really interested and started bringing the idea that in the end materialized into things that maybe a few months later. Let's take an example of banking, because from a workflow perspective, that's one of the key examples I have in mind, where some people from or members of OpenAPI wanted to express through workflows how to do an auth dance, as I call them. Like, how do you obtain an API token through auth, and how could it describe the order and how that workflow works and how the data flows from one place to another through OpenAPI. That's how the workflow, that's the use case. And then we have workflows looking at this problem and also working with the security group on how this is going to materialize from a security standpoint. So the other thing I would like to mention is those are not isolated groups working, everyone separate. At least we really also, as part of that community, I think Lorinda was mentioning, we also want to do a lot of cross SIG work, because in the end, all of these is intervened, and the use cases are going to drive the same, be core requirements or security requirements or SLA requirements, whatever they are, right? So from a community perspective, I think the key thing we really need to gather right now are really use cases from different industries, and then how they materialize in the different SIGs, which are more like technical ones, like SLA, workflow, or security.
So we'll post some of the links to the GitHub repos for the SIGs in the chat. Sort of moving beyond the special interest groups, not every committee is technical in nature. Part of the work of our OpenAPI initiative is to, and I am reading from our mission statement, promote creating, evolving, and promoting a vendor-neutral description format. And so a lot of that work is done by our marketing committee. Lorinda, what made you decide to join the work of our marketing committee? Can you tell us a little bit about it, like what it does, how often does it meet, etc.?
Yep. We meet every week. We meet on Fridays. It's only half an hour, so it's not like, you have to give up your whole day. And we basically do lots of things. We talk a lot about the conference itself that we're doing here, but we also, our mission is really to promote either the OpenAPI initiative itself, bring in more members, get people to understand the benefit of being involved, being part of the community, but also getting the word out on what's going on with the spec. You know, where are we with the next version of the spec? What sort of things are we thinking about? We try to reach out and establish as many tendrils as we can. So, for example, we'd love to have more people helping us blog. We do a lot of content for a lot of different properties, as well as our website. So that's a lot of what we do, and we spend quite a bit of time in the meetings talking about how we can work with the community and also help the folks who are contributing to the spec and the SIGs get their word out. What made me join it to begin with? I think you asked me that too, Ali. I don't know. I joined everything when I first joined. So I was in all the committees. And so I think after a while, the one that appealed to me the most was the marketing committee. It's the fun stuff, I think, you know, where we're looking around the industry and we're looking around the world and we're saying, what's a cool message to get out there, and how can we pull people closer to us, and how can we go out there and be closer to them? And I have, you know, that's the kind of stuff I love doing. And I think we have a marketing committee, and several of these folks are on the marketing committee, that we've been working together for a long time. And so we have a great rapport. We have a great relationship. We want to get more and more people involved. And so the door is open. Join us. We're fun. I, you know, personally think we're the funnest committee, but anyway, so it's just naturally where my affinity lies, is getting the word out about the spec. I think that's where I started with this whole initiative anyway, was getting the word out. And, you know, Ron and I were both part of the Swagger team right before we started the OAI. So it's just, I think it's exciting and it's fun.
I can add on. That, oh, go ahead.
All the marketing. I told you, everybody wants to talk about marketing.
I'm very excited about it.
I just wanted to add to that in order to join and help all of these committees and since you don't have to be a member of OpenAPI, you can come in and join and help anyway. So don't feel like if your companies or the organization you're with is not a member, there's not a place for you. So please do come in.
What I was just going to add to that is, like, I think a lot of times people don't realize that open source, like a large part of open source projects being successful is marketing. And often there are ways to help out with that might not actually sound like marketing to you, but is marketing, whether that be documentation. Like one example is, so at the first API Specifications conference back in Vancouver 2 years ago, I had a conversation with Ben Hutton from JSON Schema about how we basically needed more education materials that Ben had started with me. And now we have a little bit more. Like, for example, here, I'll paste this link. I got, like, this came out of having that conversation and then going back to the marketing committee and actually getting some budget and time to back that. You know, this is like first steps, but like marketing is, for us, is really, you know, everything that isn't just the technical steering committee work. Honestly, it's like all of the other things, because we're talking about SIGs there. We talk about education. We talk about community building, events, like all of those things.
All of those things. And we often have, you know, guests show up from other parts of the OAI to say, hey, we're doing a thing. You know, how can you help us get the word out, and how can we contribute? And so it's fun. It is kind of I think the center of the action. Ron would disagree because he thinks he's in the center of the action, but
wow.
But Taylor, speaking of the ASC, which is, you know, now an annual event, what's required to put on this conference? Like, does ASC need volunteers as well?
Yeah. So, what is required? So I tried to make a list of all the things that we have to work on to make this event happen. So we work with the Linux Foundation events team. That's a big one, coordinating with them. We run a CFP, which this year had the most number of submissions ever before. We were doing I forgot how much percentage increase year over year, which has been awesome. Then we have to run a program committee to decide the schedule. Then Kin and I make kind of the final layout of the schedule as co-chairs. Platform/venue. So choosing Hopin was a decision that we had to go through. Last year was even harder because everybody was running around oh my gosh, virtual event platforms. If you ever have any complaints about one, trust me, some of them are far, far, far worse. Sponsorships, we handle sponsorships. Marketing is honestly the biggest one. So just promoting the event, helping attendees promote the event, helping speakers promote the event, helping sponsors promote the event, then doing it internally with OAI. It's a lot of different things. Yeah. I think, did you ask how, I know maybe I'm just because I'm looking at the notes about volunteers. I think the biggest thing is we're trying to figure out how to do this more sustainable going forward so that it requires less of one person's time. I think the biggest area is if anyone has any desire to do community building, event management, marketing work. I mean, I'm an engineer at heart, but I still am doing marketing. We definitely have a conversation with myself or Kin or someone within OAI's marketing committee to get you in and involved to see if that's a great fit. If you're super organized, that'll make your life easier. But honestly, if you just want to see the community grow, this is a good way to go about it.
So on that note, I'm going to sort of close out the panel with a question. Neal, you can kick off, but I think everyone should maybe join in on just how is OpenAPI Initiative working towards building a more diverse, inclusive community? And how can we make the community more welcome?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we need to continually ask ourselves that question of how we can make the community more welcoming and more inclusive. And we talk about sustainability. A big part of keeping any open source project sustainable, in my opinion, is diversity, getting more viewpoints. Also, you're going to better meet needs of businesses, better meet needs of people. So we have improved, and I think we still have more to go. A couple of the things have come up even on this call or on this conference. So, for example, if you notice the kickoff, Taylor was kicking it up. We had an all-women kickoff to the conference, which was great. And it was because those were the best people to kick off the conference, and that sort of emerged naturally. And so seeing a larger mix of women and other people involved is really important. Also, Ron mentioned the TDC. That was also that whole confusion around the renaming. Part of that was really out of a good intention, which is to figure out how can we name this thing so that we can make sure people understand it is welcoming and anyone can jump on and anyone can participate. The TDC also this year, or I think it was probably the TSC this year, there's a big in the ecosystem. There's this big thing about changing inclusive naming, right? We have master slave and blacklist and whitelist, and the TDC, the TSC rather, changed our main branch to main instead of master. So there's a lot of little things that add up, but we can always do better. And I think it's important that we're open to feedback and getting ideas from people of how we can be better.
Other folks want to weigh in?
Or about somebody might jump in.
Right. Well, so
I'm happy to tell more about that.
I thought we were going round in a circle.
Yeah, no, I was just waiting for someone, for the spirit
free
to
fall.
Somebody.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I thought Neal was going to mention it, but there's also what is it? A code of conduct committee.
Yeah.
Got the name of the thing. Yeah. So I've been involved in several efforts in several communities to get code of conducts going, some successfully, some not. Sometimes the sort of people who really, really, really hate code of conducts, the sort of people you're trying to keep out of the group, manage to win. But that didn't go so well in some communities, but sometimes it does work out. And so there's a lot of smart, sensible people in place who can review anything awkward that pops up or anything bad. And so myself and Taylor are on there. I think we're looking for more people. So if that's something that is of interest to you, do get in touch somehow, Neal. But yeah, hopefully that will help a little bit.
Yeah. Lorinda, do you have any?
Yeah, I would say, you know, this is a struggle everywhere, right? Is creating that kind of inclusive environment for everybody to feel welcome. So I think that the key is to talk to us. You've heard that, like, a lot of us are very passionate about this community and we've been involved in it for a long time. That also means that sometimes we have blinders on and sometimes we don't see what it is to be new and what it is to try to get involved. And so call us out on it. You know, that's the only way we get better, is if we hear from you. But, you know, do know that we're very aware that we want a diverse community as part of this group. We want to be an inclusive environment, and I think all of us have our hearts there and our minds there, but we need your help too, to make sure we're holding true to that.
I'll just say one other quick thing. To make a community more diverse, if you diversify it, participate in it. I think one of the reasons why I wanted personally to sort of form in this panel is so that I could make sure that we were kind of bringing in some different voices on this, and also make sure that you know, we really could focus on the community aspect, on the people who do the day-to-day work of running OpenAPI. These conferences, the spec itself, they do not run themselves. And so it requires a lot of effort, but you have to participate. So this is me putting my money where my mouth is, I guess, in one way. Emmanuel, Ron, Taylor, any other thoughts?
Yeah, Ron, you want to go first?
Sure. Just as a quick note around that going back to what Lorinda said, right? So a few months ago, we were as the TDC meetings. We had some people point out that we can make some improvements, and we have implemented some of these changes, hopefully to help people, you know, be able to come in and join more easily. I personally appreciate the feedback, and you know, I'm hoping that it's gone in the right direction. I mean, it seems like it's, at least over the last few months, it seems like it's working. People are not afraid to speak up, and that's great. And that's something that we're looking for.
Emmanuel?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think one last point is that we all got to work better on being transparent. I think the events of the past 2 years with COVID have taught us how to be more explicit in what we write and say, and how to communicate better. So that's going to be very important. So we're not doing things perfectly. I think we need to be better at communicating and putting things in writing. And I think that by being transparent, we are by default going to be more inclusive. So I wanted to encourage us to do that.
Thank you. Well, we are at time, but I want to thank every single one of the panelists. You all have been wonderful, and I appreciate you coming to tell the OpenAPI Initiative story. And to our wonderful members of our community, we'll also, we posted some of the links to the SIGs, to the OpenAPI Initiative, and we'll also share the link to the to join the Slack. If the link doesn't work for you or for your company, there's also an email address that you can use. Thank you, everyone.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.